Even if Nagito's right hand was free, how could he stab his right hand?
If he threw the knife into the air and let the knife fall.
Even if Nagito's right hand, how could he stab his right hand with his...
If he threw the knife into the air and let the knife fall, could he stab his hand that way?
Is he a throwing knife expert? Maybe he propped the knife somehow and slammed his right hand down on it?
Even if Nagito's... How could he stab his...
If he threw the knife and let the knife, could he stab his hand?
Is he a throwing knife? Maybe he propped and slammed his right... Propped it...
If he just propped, he could have used his bound...
If you're tied up, your arms won't bend that easily. We don't know if his left hand could even reach his right hand. Even if Nagito's... How could he stab his...
If he threw the knife and let the knife, could he stab his hand?
Is he a throwing knife? Maybe he propped and slammed his right hand...
Propped it onto what? If he just propped the knife, he could have used his bound left hand.
If you're tied up, your arms won't bend. Even if Nagito's... How could he stab his...
If he threw the knife and let the knife, could he stab his hand?
Is he a throwing knife? Maybe he propped and slammed his right...
Propped it If he just propped, he could have used his bound left hand.
If you're tied up, your arms won't bend that easily. We don't know if his left hand could even reach his right hand. Even if Nagito's right hand... How could he stab his right hand with...
If he threw the knife into the air and let the knife fall, could he stab his hand that way?
Is he a throwing knife expert? Maybe he propped the knife somehow and slammed his right...
Propped it onto... If he just propped them, he could have used his bound left hand.
If you're tied up, your arms won't bend that easily. We don't know if his left hand could even reach his right hand. Even if Nagito's right hand was free, how could he stab his right hand with his right hand?
If he threw the knife into the air and let the knife fall.
Even if Nagito's right hand was free, how could he stab his right hand with his right hand?
If he threw the knife into the air and let the knife fall, could he stab his hand that way?
Oh, whoops.
We will never give up!
My head hurts too much for this.
How could he stab his right hand with his right hand?
If he threw the knife into the air and let the knife fall, could he stab his hand out?
Is he a throwing knife expert? Maybe he propped the knife and slammed his right hand.
Propped it onto what? If he just propped the knife, he could have used his bound left hand.
Even if Nagito's right hand was free, how could he stab his right hand with his right hand?
If he threw the knife in and let the knife fall, could he stab his hand that way?
Is he a throwing knife expert? Maybe he propped the knife somehow and slammed his right hand down on it?
Propped it onto what? If he just propped the knife, he could have used his bound left hand.
If you're tied up, your arms won't bend that easily. Even if Nagito's right hand was free, how could he stab his right hand with...
If he threw the knife and let the knife, could he stab his hand? Is he a throwing knife? Maybe he propped the knife and slammed his right hand down.
Propped it onto what?
If he just propped, he could have used his belt.
If you're tied up, you're up. We don't know if his left hand could even reach his right hand. Even if Nagito's right hand was free, how could he stab his right hand with his right hand?
If he threw the knife into the air and let the knife fall, could he stab his hand that way?
Is he a throwing knife? Maybe he propped the knife somehow?
Even if Nagito's right hand was free, how could he stab his right hand with his right hand?
If he threw the knife into the air and let the knife fall, could he stab his hand that way?
Is he a throwing knife? Maybe he propped the
I'm
knife
lost.
somehow?
Oh!
I agree with that.
Okay.
The life-size Monokuma plushie. He must have used that to prop
I don't
the knife.
understand how the fucking plushie had a hole in the middle of it, but whatever.
Makes sense. He inserted the knife handle into that hole to prop it up. Then he slammed his hand onto it. If that's it, he had to place the plushie near him. And it also explains...
So the blood on the plushie came from Nagito after he stabbed the knife into
That's
his
a
own
little
right
bit
hand.
of a stretch. That's a little bit of a
For a
stretch.
moment, I seriously thought Monokuma died or something.
A bleeding plushie is super scary. It's got the same fear.
After stabbing his hand, he no longer needed the plushie, so he cast it off toward the fires.
He probably thought the fire would incinerate it.
So what do you think now, Fuyuhiko?
I get what you're saying about the wound on his right hand, but... the spear. Basically, you're saying, if you think about the order, getting killed by the spear should have been the last thing to happen to Nagito. If that's true, how is that? He can't grab a spear with his right hand if a knife is stabbed into it.
Then he probably took the spear first, and as he endured the pain, he...
There is a limit to his constitution. If you got penetrated by something so big and thick, you would die instantly.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch all that.
Like I said, if you got penetrated by something so...
Say it one more time.
Hey, bastard, you better...
Like she said, in that condition, it's very difficult to stab your... It'd be hard to use a spear with a knife stab into your right hand.
So you're saying it's impossible?
But no matter what I think, I can't believe...
I also agree with... To think that one of us could kill someone with such cruelty...
You say you can't believe it? But that's why you keep getting betrayed.
You just shut your mouth. If you even think about doing anything,
Momonami's sassing me.
But it's just as Monokuma. This might also be the same. Calling this a suicide takes too much for granted. And it's too...
Then are you saying there is a killer among...
Of course that doesn't include Miss Sonia and me.
As Kazuichi said, it's true we've been constantly betrayed. But even if I'm betrayed again, no matter how many times I may be betrayed...
I also want to believe that there's no killer. But suicide is unimaginable.
Do you really think so?
But you said it too.
I did say difficult. I feel that there's... some way he could have...
What kind?
I don't know.
You don't know.
It's impossible to figure out by myself. That's how...
Everyone.
All right, let's do this.
This again. Girder. Stupid fucking girder. It's not here. Nice. Nice.
How did Nagito stab himself with a spear? Let's work together and think this through.
When the spear stabbed Nagito, his right hand was covered by the knife, right?
He was only able to move his left hand.
But his left hand was also tied up.
Then that rules out his left hand. If that's the case, the only other way is...
He used his teeth? Or maybe he used his front tail. I know guys have tails that get hard when they're grabbed.
What are you saying?
A blushing Miss Sonia's freaking awesome!
How did Nagito stab himself with a spear? Let's work together and think this through.
When the spear stabbed Nagito, his right hand was covered by the knife, right?
Whoopsie. Didn't think.
How did Nagito's... Let's work together and think...
When the spear stabbed Nagito, his right hand was covered...
He was only able to move it...
But his left hand was also...
Then that rules out his left hand. If that's the case, the only other way is...
He used his teeth? Or maybe he used his front tail.
Ha! I knew it.
How did Nagito's... Let's work together.
When the spear stabbed Nagito, his right hand was covered by...
He was only able to move his...
But his left hand was also...
Then that rules out his left hand.
How did Nagito's... Let's work together and...
When the spear stabbed, his right hand was covered by the knife, right?
He was only able to move his left hand.
But his left hand was also tied up.
Then that rules out his left hand. If that's the case, the only other way is...
He used his teeth? Or maybe he used his front tail. I know guys have tails that get hard when they're grabbed.
What are you saying?
A blushing Miss Sonia's freaking awesome!
How did Nagito stab himself with a spear? Let's work together and think this through.
When the spear stabbed Nagito, his right hand was covered by the knife, right?
He was only able to move his left hand.
But his left hand was also tied up.
Then that rules out his left hand. If that's the case, the only other way is...
He used his teeth?
How did Nagito stab himself? Let's work together and think this through.
When the spear stabbed Nagito, his right hand was covered by the knife, right?
He was only able to move his left hand.
But his left hand was also tied up.
Then that rules out his left hand. If that's the case, the only other way is...
He used his teeth? Or maybe he used his front tail. I know guys have tails that get hard.
What are you saying?
A blushing Miss Sonia's freaking awesome!
How did Nagito stab himself with a... Let's work together and think this through.
When the spear stabbed Nagito, his right hand was covered by the knife, right?
He was only able to move his left...
But his left hand was also...
Then that rules out his left hand.
There!
No, that's wrong. Hold on. It's still too early to...
Why?
But there was something off about the bloodstain on the palm of his hand. Don't you think it looked somewhat... He only had blood on the lower area of his palm. Beyond that point...
When the blood splattered, that's as far as it reached, right?
That settles the description of that blood stain. But it's not the... Look, there's blood on the back of his hand.
Like you said, it looks like an unnatural blood stain.
We might need to think and use our... If there's blood on his palm and the back of his hand, what was his left...
I see! When the blood splattered, he was probably gripping. That's why there's such a strange-looking bloodstain on his palm.
Was he grabbing his front tail?
Perish the thought! He was obviously grabbing the spear!
Now that you mention it, compared to the rest of his body, the wounds on his left arm are pretty mild. He probably made his wounds mild on purpose, so he could keep his strength while he gripped the spear.
But even if he held the spear with his tied-up left hand,
Hey, Chiaki, what do you... Hey, don't tell me you're...
At times like this, you should always strike from a good angle. Just like fixing an old TV.
Oh, I got it. Yeah, like I thought. However, what's important is what's...
I see! That's it. Instead of the handle, Nagito must... There was a metal weight at the tip of the cord, but there were bloodstains on... Plus, the joint between the weight and the cord had a bloodstain shaped like it was cut off by...
Isn't the size of that cut-off section?
Ah, you're right. And then, the blood that was supposed to... ended up getting on Nagito's left hand.
But why is it so important to know which part of...
You're not gonna say he gripped the tip of the cords.
That is where the clue to solve this I am sorry. It seems we are stuck.
At a time like... How about we stick to... the plan to think one step at a time instead of expecting...
That's a long...
One step at a time.
Let's focus on the spear first. Namely, where it was, and how it was positioned just...
How it was...
I already know this, though. Ah! Dick move. Ah! Whoa, it moves. I get a speed boost for the small bit of dopamine that it grants me. No! Dick. Aha! Well, sprinklers too, but whatever. I already knew this. Dick move. No! I can't tell when they end. See? The other ones didn't go all the way over. Fuck you. Radical. There we go. Dick moved.
It's all coming together.
I already knew that, though.
The spear impaled Nagito as he was laying face up. It must have been
Perpendicular.
If Nagito did that all by himself,
That'd be awesome, but... he probably used...
Nagito probably slung the cord over the ceiling girder. He hoisted the spear directly... And if Nagito let go of the cord, the spear would have fallen and impaled him while he was laying...
I noticed a slight red streak on the ceiling girder.
The blood on the cord probably rubbed off on the ceiling girder. So, how about it? Using this method.
Are you serious?
He... probably chose that... If someone else did this, there's no reason...
I agree. When I was investigating this case, why did the killer use the knife and the spear so different?
So you're saying he needed to use that spear to...
Then he really... Every single wound on his body...
not just that, he did all... That spear should not have stabbed Nagito until the very end, which means Nagito wounded himself while he was gripping that spear, right?
Did he put the duct tape on his mouth, too?
He probably covered his own mouth so we wouldn't hear him screaming in pain.
Did he need to go that far? That's beyond crazy. Why would he do that to him?
He was probably trying to get us to make a mistake. By committing a suicide that looked like a murder, he was trying to... His goal was to get us all executed.
And that's why he stabbed himself over and over again?
Did he want us to die that?
That's messed up.
Yeah, that's our Nagito.
However, there is one thing I still... Whatever became of that?
He was probably planning to kill...
So why did he not just do that in the first place? If he had no qualms with killing everyone, he did not have to cause a bomb scare to reveal the traitor.
I bet the bomb
It's pretty
scare was part of the
badass.
He made us split up and search for a bomb so none of us would have an out. He created a scenario where any of us could have killed him.
He tried to make us doubt each other. And tried to hide the truth behind his suicide.
To strengthen our bonds of hope. I wonder if the newer G502
Cause a bomb scare
is lighter.
without reason alone.
Because I have the original G502 and I took all the weights out of it and it's still a pretty heavy mouse. I mean, yeah, it's a lot heavier than your, your grandma's everyday wireless mouse, but yeah, a lot heavier.
He's a fucking bastard who killed himself for his delusions of grandeur. It's not that...
You are right, I suppose.
Yeah, it appears bastard Nagito committed suicide.
That should be okay.
What?
No, I agree that Nagito killed himself, but it's probably just my imagination.
So what are you gonna do?
What do you think, Akane?
Well, there's no doubt Nagito's death was a suicide.
You are right. It is not...
Then, if that means we're done with this last class, it's okay to reach such a happy ending.
Then it's okay? It's understood.
No,
Hold on.
sorry, just a little more. I want you guys to wait. I can't help but feel like there's still...
Like who the traitor is?
But the issue here is who killed Nagito, right? Even...
That's true, but...
The mystery isn't just about... No matter how you look at it, I'm a little worried, you know? I'm worried about starting the voting time while there's...
Hey, what do you mean it's not about who the traitor?
There's just one thing that doesn't make sense. And it... Plus, it's something even Nagito couldn't influence.
You're gonna keep going?
Crap!
Nope. Alright. Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to leave on this little cliffhanger. Am I able to save here? No. Oh well, I'll pause the stream, leave my computer running. Bye-bye. I'll be back in however long. It's a birthday thing. I'll be back and finish the trial.